Welcome to Emma's English.
Hey English learners, welcome back to Emma's English Talk, your cozy little place to learn real, everyday English through natural conversations. I am Emma.
And I am Tom. We are so glad to have you back with us today for another episode where we explore the wonderful, funny, and sometimes deeply frustrating aspects of daily life, all while leveling up your English skills.
Exactly, Tom. Today we are diving into a topic that I think absolutely everyone listening has experienced at least once, if not dozens of times. It is one of those tiny daily struggles that can turn a moment of joy into a test of patience.
Oh, I am intrigued already. What kind of small struggle are we talking about today, Emma? Is it something we find in the kitchen or perhaps out in the world?
It is actually something that happens right after you buy something new. You bring home this beautiful, shiny new item, you're so excited to use it, and then you see it, the price tag. And not just any price tag, but one of those incredibly sticky, stubborn labels that refuses to come off.
Oh, no. You are speaking directly to my soul right now, Emma. That is truly one of the most silently infuriating experiences of modern life. You buy a nice glass, a ceramic mug, or a picture frame, and the manufacturer decides to use industrial-strength concrete glue to attach the price sticker.
Yes, it is as if they want that sticker to survive a volcanic eruption. I recently bought a set of lovely glass jars because I wanted my kitchen shelves to look pristine, with all matching containers for my spices and grains.
Pristine. Ah, you mean completely clean, fresh, and looking brand new, right?
Precisely, Tom. I wanted that perfect, flawless look where everything is neat and clean. But instead, my dream of a pristine kitchen was immediately threatened by these massive, ugly white barcodes stuck right on the front of the glass.
That is the worst because glass is so unforgiving. If you do not get the sticker off perfectly, you can see every single smudge and lint that gets stuck to the leftover adhesive. What did you do when you first saw them?
Well, like most people, I made the classic mistake of thinking I could just peel them off quickly with my fingernails. I thought, surely if I am careful and slow, it will just glide right off.
And let me guess, it did not go according to plan at all.
Not even close. I managed to peel off about 2 millimeters of the corner before the paper split, leaving the sticky bottom layer firmly attached to the glass.
That split second when the paper tears and you realize you have ruined your chances of a clean peel is so disappointing. It's a very specific type of domestic defeat.
It really is. I stood there looking at my spice jars, feeling my blood pressure rise slightly over a piece of sticky paper. And that's when the real battle began.
I know that battle all too well. It's a process that involves a lot of patience, various household chemicals, and sometimes a bit of regret. Let's talk about how we handle these sticky situations.
It really is a battle, Tom. I think the first thing most of us do after that initial terror is try to find another corner. We try to attack the sticker from a different angle, hoping for a miracle.
Yes, we start to pick at the other edges, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the glue is a little weaker on the left side than it was on the right.
Pick at? Yes, that is when you repeatedly touch, scratch, or pull at something small with your fingers, right?
Exactly. You are using your fingernails to scratch away at it millimeter by millimeter, but usually when you pick at a stubborn sticker, you just end up with tiny paper shreds under your nails and an even messier sticker.
That is so true. Your fingernails get dirty and the sticker ends up looking like a shredded mess. It is no longer a neat rectangle. It is now a jagged, half-peeled disaster.
And the absolute worst part is when the paper part actually does come off, but it leaves behind that terrible sticky residue on the surface.
Residue. Oh, you mean that sticky leftover substance that remains on the surface after the main part of the sticker has been pulled away?
Yes, that is exactly what it is. It is that tacky, gluey layer that is left behind. It's almost invisible at first, but then it immediately starts attracting dust, cat hair, and clothing fibers, turning into a dark, fuzzy patch of grime.
That is the ultimate betrayal. You think you have won because the paper is gone, but then you touch the surface and it is still sticky. And within a few hours, it looks incredibly dirty because of all the dust sticking to the residue.
It makes your brand new purchase look old and dirty before you have even used it. I remember buying a beautiful wooden cutting board last year. The manufacturer had placed a giant sticker right in the middle of the wood on the side you're supposed to chop food on.
On wood? That sounds like a complete nightmare. Wood is porous, so it must absorb the adhesive even more than glass or plastic.
It was awful, Emma. Wood absorbs everything. I knew that if I tried to pick at it dry, I would scratch the beautiful grain of the wood. But I also knew I couldn't just soak the whole board in water because water can warp and ruin wood.
That is a very delicate situation. You are caught between ruining the wood with water or ruining it by scratching it. What was your strategy?
I decided to try using a little bit of vegetable oil on a paper towel. I read online that the fat in the oil can help break down the adhesive. But even with the oil, I had to apply some serious elbow grease to get that sticker to budge.
Elbow grease. That is such a classic phrase. It means using a lot of physical energy and hard work, especially when you are rubbing or scrubbing something, right?
Exactly, Emma. It's all about physical effort. My arm was actually tired by the end of it because I was scrubbing so hard. I spent about 15 minutes rubbing that wooden board with oil and a cloth.
15 minutes? Just to remove a price tag from a cutting board is absurd, Tom. But I suppose it was worth it if it saved the wood from being damaged.
It did work eventually, but then I had a new problem. I had a giant oily spot in the middle of my dry cutting board. I had to wash the board multiple times with dish soap just to get the oil out. It felt like a never-ending cycle of cleaning.
It really is a cycle. You use one substance to remove another, and then you have to find a third substance to remove the second one. It's a chain reaction of household chores.
And all of this because some company decided to save a fraction of a cent by using cheap glue instead of those nice easy peel labels.
Yes, those easy peel labels are absolute heaven. When you find a product that has a label that just rolls off in one smooth motion, leaving nothing behind, it feels like you have won the lottery.
It really does. I actually feel a wave of gratitude toward the manufacturer when that happens. I think to myself, thank you for respecting my time and my sanity.
It shows they actually care about the user experience. But unfortunately, most items still come with stickers that require a chemistry degree to remove.
I think the worst items are books. Have you ever bought a beautiful paperback book only to find a giant price sticker stuck directly onto the paper cover?
Oh, don't get me started on book stickers, Tom. That is a cardinal sin in the publishing world. If you try to peel a sticker off paper, you almost always end up tearing the cover itself, which completely ruins the book.
It's heartbreaking. You try to be so gentle, moving at a snail pace, but then you hear that tiny rip, and you see the white paper fiber underneath. The beautiful cover design is ruined forever.
It turns a beautiful addition to your bookshelf into an absolute eyesore.
An eyesore? That refers to something that is incredibly ugly or messy to look at, especially when it ruins the appearance of everything around it, right?
Yes, exactly. A torn book cover or a dirty, sticky patch on a nice vase is a total eyesore. It completely ruins the aesthetic appeal of the object.
I actually had a book like that recently. I bought a poetry book for a friend as a birthday gift. The bookstore had put their own barcode sticker right on the back cover, covering part of the description.
Oh, giving a gift with a price tag or a messy sticker residue is so awkward. You want the gift to look perfect and thoughtful, not like you bought it at the last minute and struggled to clean it.
Precisely. I spent an hour trying to get that sticker off without ripping the paper. I actually ended up going down a rabbit hole online looking for specific book-safe sticker removal techniques.
Go down a rabbit hole. That's when you get so focused on searching for something on the internet that you lose track of time and find yourself reading things you never expected to, right?
Yes, that's it. I started by looking up how to remove glue from paper, and before I knew it, I was reading articles about the chemical composition of different adhesives and watching videos of professional book restorers using specialized tools.
That is a classic rabbit hole experience. You start with a simple question and end up learning about industrial chemistry at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But did you actually find a solution that worked for the book cover?
I did, actually. Many people recommended using a hairdryer to gently heat the adhesive before peeling. The heat softens the glue, making it much easier to pull the sticker away without ripping the paper underneath.
That makes a lot of sense. The heat liquefies the adhesive slightly so it loses its grip. Did it work on your poetry book?
It worked like a charm, Tom. I held the hairdryer about 6 inches away from the cover on a low heat setting for about 30 seconds. Then I very slowly peeled the sticker back. It came off in one beautiful, intact piece.
That must have been incredibly satisfying. It's like a minor victory against the forces of annoying retail practices.
It was a glorious moment. I felt like a professional surgeon performing a delicate operation, but it still took time and preparation for something that should have been simple.
It is amazing how much thought we have to put into this. I wonder why manufacturers do not just use static cling labels or at least water-soluble glue. It would make our lives so much easier.
I think it must come down to cost. Water-soluble glues and specialized easy-peel adhesives are probably slightly more expensive to produce in mass quantities. And since the manufacturer does not have to deal with the sticker once it is sold, they don't care.
It is a classic case of passing the problem down to the consumer. They get their cheap labeling and we get the frustration of cleaning up after them.
Exactly. And some stickers are placed in the most bizarre locations. I once bought a set of drinking glasses where the stickers were placed on the inside bottom of the glass.
On the inside? How are you even supposed to reach down there to peel it, let alone scrub the residue out?
It was nearly impossible, Tom. My hand is too big to fit comfortably all the way to the bottom of those narrow glasses. I had to use a long wooden spoon wrapped in a wet paper towel to try to scrape the sticker away.
That sounds incredibly awkward. You are basically doing blind surgery inside a glass container.
It was. And because I couldn't get enough leverage, I couldn't apply much elbow grease. It took days of soaking them in warm, soapy water and scrubbing them with the spoon before they were finally clean.
Soaking is usually the safest method for glass and ceramic, but it requires patience. You cannot use the item immediately. You have to let it sit in the sink, which makes your kitchen look messy.
Yes, you have these dirty-looking glasses sitting in your sink for 24 hours just because of some glue. It really tests your patience.
What about plastic items? Plastic is another tricky material because you cannot use harsh chemicals like acetone or nail polish remover on it. Acetone can actually melt certain types of plastic.
Oh, absolutely. I made that mistake once with a plastic storage bin. I used nail polish remover to get a sticker off, and it completely melted the surface, leaving a cloudy, rough patch that looked worse than the sticker itself.
That is a painful lesson to learn. You try to clean it and end up permanently damaging the item. With plastic, I find that rubbing alcohol is usually safer, though it still takes some time to work.
Rubbing alcohol is definitely safer, but sometimes even that doesn't work on those plastic-coated vinyl stickers. Those are the ones that do not let any liquid penetrate through the top layer.
Ah, yes, the waterproof stickers. If the liquid cannot get through the sticker to reach the glue, soaking it does absolutely nothing.
Exactly. With those, you have to peel the top plastic layer off first, which is incredibly difficult, and then deal with the massive layer of glue left behind. It's a two-step torture process.
It really is. I have also heard of people using eucalyptus oil or citrus-based cleaners. Apparently the natural oils in citrus fruits are highly effective at breaking down synthetic adhesives.
Yes, citrus oils are fantastic. They also smell much better than rubbing alcohol or vinegar. But you have to be careful because they can leave stains on matte surfaces or unsealed wood.
It seems like every single material requires a different strategy. Glass needs soaking, wood needs oil, paper needs heat, and plastic needs alcohol. It's like a complex matrix of cleaning rules.
We should write a manual called The Art of Sticker Removal. It would probably be a bestseller because everyone faces this issue.
I would buy that book, Emma, as long as it doesn't have a giant price sticker on the cover.
That would be the ultimate irony, wouldn't it? A book about removing stickers that has a permanent sticker on it.
It would be beautiful. But seriously, I think my favorite method when I don't have any special oils is just warm water and dish soap mixed with a little bit of baking soda. The baking soda acts as a mild abrasive, helping to scrub away the residue without scratching the surface.
Baking soda is a miracle worker in the house. I use it for everything. It has just enough texture to scrub the glue away, but it's soft enough that it won't scratch glass or ceramic.
Exactly. It's much safer than using a metal scraper or a scrubby sponge that might leave permanent scratch marks on your nice new plates.
Oh, using a metal knife is another dangerous temptation. When you're frustrated and your fingernails are hurting, you look at a butter knife and think, maybe I can just scrape it off quickly.
Do not do it, Emma. It is a trap. You think you're being gentle, but then the knife slips and you have a giant silver scratch right across your new plate.
It's based on experience when I say it's a terrible idea. I scratched a very expensive ceramic baking dish that way. Now every time I bake a lasagna, I see that scratch and remember my impatience.
It's a permanent reminder of a momentary lapse of judgment. It's always better to take your time and use heat or oil rather than resorting to violence with a kitchen knife.
Patience is definitely a virtue when it comes to stickers, but it's hard to find that patience when you just want to enjoy your new purchase.
You know, Emma, thinking about all these struggles we have with sticky labels actually brings to mind several really expressive words and phrases we used today during our conversation.
That is so true, Tom. We used some fantastic language that B2 and C1 learners can use to describe not just the specific situation, but many different daily frustrations and experiences.
Let us talk about them. The first one that stood out to me was when you said you wanted your kitchen shelves to look pristine.
Yes, pristine is such a beautiful word. It is much more descriptive than just saying clean or new. It gives the image of something being in its perfect, original state, completely untouched and spotless.
It is a great word for advanced learners to use when describing things like nature, rooms, or newly bought items. You can talk about a pristine beach, a pristine white shirt, or a pristine car.
Exactly. It implies that there is absolutely no dirt, damage, or imperfection. And then we talked about what we do when we first see the sticker. We start to pick at it.
To pick at is a very natural phrasal verb. It's much more specific than just saying touch or pull. It describes that repetitive action of using your fingers or nails to scratch at something small.
Yes, we pick at stickers, but you can also pick at a scab on your skin or pick at your food if you are not very hungry and are just moving it around your plate with a fork.
That is a great point. If you are picking at your food, you're not really eating, you're just playing with it. It's a very common expression in everyday English.
And then, of course, we have the result of picking at the sticker, which is the sticky residue.
Residue is a very useful noun. It refers to whatever is left behind after a process is finished or after the main part of something is removed. In this case, it's the glue residue.
But you can also have chemical residue on vegetables or soapy residue on your dishes if you do not rinse them properly. It's a very versatile word in both scientific and daily contexts.
Definitely. And to get rid of that residue, we often have to apply some elbow grease. I love that idiom, elbow grease. It is so vivid. It immediately makes you think of someone scrubbing hard, putting physical energy into a task.
Yes, it is used whenever a job requires physical effort rather than intelligence or special tools. You can't solve the problem with a machine. You just have to use elbow grease and scrub.
You often hear it in the context of cleaning, gardening, or manual labor. If you want a shiny floor, you have to use some elbow grease.
Exactly. And if you don't use enough elbow grease, you might end up leaving half of the sticker on, which makes the item look like an eyesore.
An eyesore is such a strong, expressive word. It's perfect for describing anything that is so ugly or messy that it ruins the overall look of a place or an object.
Yes, we use it to describe ruined items, but also larger things like a modern concrete building in the middle of a beautiful old town, or a garden that is full of weeds and trash. You can say, that abandoned house is a real eyesore.
It is a very common word in community discussions and urban planning, but also in daily life when something is just unpleasant to look at.
And finally, Tom, you mentioned that you went down a rabbit hole when you were looking for solutions online.
Going down a rabbit hole is probably one of my favorite modern idioms. It perfectly describes that experience of starting with one simple search on the internet and ending up hours later reading about something completely unrelated because you got distracted by interesting links.
We all do it, especially late at night. You start by looking up a recipe and end up reading about the history of the medieval spice trade. It's a very relatable experience for anyone who uses the internet.
It is a great phrase to use in casual conversation to explain how you spent your evening or why you know some random piece of trivia. You can just say, I went down a rabbit hole on Wikipedia last night.
These are such rich, natural expressions. Using them will definitely help our listeners sound more fluent and nuanced when they are describing their own daily lives.
That is so true, Emma. And speaking of keeping track of what we learn, did you know we have a PDF script available for today's episode?
Yes, we do. For our listeners who want to study these phrases in more detail and practice their pronunciation, the PDF script is an incredible tool.
It has the complete dialogue, so you can follow along as you listen, or even practice shadowing, which is when you speak along with us to improve your rhythm and intonation.
It is a fantastic way to build muscle memory in your mouth and sound more natural. You can find the link to download the free PDF script in the description below, and we have also pinned it in the comments section for easy access.
And while you are down there downloading the script, please do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Emma's English Talk if you haven't already.
Yes, your support really helps us to keep creating these long, detailed lessons for English learners all over the world. We love being a part of your English learning journey.
We really do. Every like, comment, and subscription helps our channel grow and allows us to reach more students who want to master real, conversational English.
So, please join our community and let us know what you think of today's lesson.
All right, and speaking of reviewing, before we say goodbye today, let us do a quick roundup of those 6 key terms we talked about earlier. It is always good to reinforce what we have learned.
I agree, Tom. A quick review is the best way to make sure these words actually stick in our long-term memory. Let us start with the first word, pristine.
Pristine means completely clean, fresh, and in its original perfect condition. For example, after spending the entire Saturday cleaning, my apartment was in pristine condition.
That is a great example. Our second phrase is to pick at, which means to repeatedly scratch, pull, or touch something small with your fingers. For example, please do not pick at your sunburn or it will never heal.
Excellent advice. Our third word is residue, which is the small amount of something that remains after the main part has been removed. For example, the tape left a sticky residue on the wall after I took the posters down.
Yes, that is a very common issue. The fourth expression is elbow grease, which means hard physical effort, especially when rubbing or cleaning. For example, this rusty pan will look brand new if you use a little elbow grease.
That is very true. Our fifth word is eyesore, which describes something very ugly or messy that ruins the look of its surroundings. For example, that rusty old car parked on the street is a real eyesore.
It definitely is. And our final idiom is to go down a rabbit hole, which means to become deeply absorbed in a topic or search online, moving from one link to another and losing track of time. For example, I went down a rabbit hole looking at old family photos last night and forgot to do my homework.
I think we've all been there, Emma. That is a very relatable example.
It really is. Well, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the daily frustrations of price tags to some incredibly useful English vocabulary.
It has been a wonderful conversation, Emma. I feel like I have learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have too.
Me too, Tom. Now, we want to hear from you, our lovely listeners. What about you guys? How do you handle stubborn stickers and sticky residue on your new purchases? Do you have any secret life hacks to share?
Yes, please let us know your tips and tricks in the comments below. We really want to read your answers and learn some new methods ourselves.
Thank you so much for studying with us today. Keep practicing, stay curious, and we will see you in the next episode of Emma's English Talk.
Goodbye, everyone.